Hello again, and welcome to Media War Stories, behind the scenes tales from the front lines of the media. I am your host, Tom Curley. How are you all today? We are recording on a Wednesday. I don't know when this will air, but it will involve probably talking about the news. That's what we talk about here. Usually we talk about stories from the past. I think maybe for the next couple of shows, we're going to be talking about stories of the present. And of course, can I do that without this guy, Mr. Garry Armstrong? Garry, hello, how are you? How you doing?
Hi, I'm the
Etc.
voice of the past and the present. The future, I don't know.
Is it still Christmas morning? No, specifically, before before we went on the air, we got talking about, of course, what everybody's talking about, which is, of course, the Trump trial, and
Yes,
we can't be current. This will probably air next week, and we're talking about last week, unless I decide to air it this week. Who knows? But anyway, of course, it's getting wall to wall coverage, and I love it, and of
yes, it
course,
is.
Garry loves it. Um, and it is fascinating. But Garry does bring up a point which I somewhat agree and somewhat disagree. Uh, that again, we're doing it again. Uh, this guy gets wall to wall coverage. You want to talk about freebies?
Yes, he does.
In 2016, one of the reasons that the main reason is he got millions of dollars of free publicity because that's all
Yes,
anybody wanted to talk about because he was great TV. And back then, everybody thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. We thought it was a joke. Let's see what dumb shit this guy who's never going to get elected president does today. And we all
right.
laughed at it until after election day. So, here we are. And Garry, I tend to agree
You
with
know
you. Um,
what's sad about this, and I don't know whether or not sad is the right word, but we, and we'll use the collective we here. We're always making fun or dumping on people who we say people who don't know history are doomed to repeat things. Um, and of course, as a journalist, radio, TV, print, whatever, we're smart, we're intelligent, so that when we do our uh, journalistic entries, we talk about the need to know history. So if anyone should be mindful of history, it should be folks like us. You shouldn't repeat mistakes made in the past. And lo and behold,
right.
coming out of the last session that you were just talking about, a lot of people made promises that we're not going to repeat this mistake. We gave him too much time. And what's happening? We're giving him all the time in the world.
I
Some
agree.
people don't remember
However,
history.
but I have a caveat for that. Again, I
Okay.
like to,
What's caveat mean?
I like to, it's a kind of a tie that like fancy people
I
that
love
don't
the
know how to
word. I
tie a
love it.
tie. Yeah, it's a good word. I just like it. Um, all right. I wanted to use the word caveat in a sentence. You
That's it. That's
fucking
it. You
busted
wanted to
me.
use
Okay,
it.
are you happy? No, zoom out, zoom out to 1,000 feet. Okay, and,
Okay.
and here's the question that I ask people. There's an old saying: "There's no such thing as bad publicity." Okay, you hear that
Right.
all the
Right.
time, and I question: is there? I think what we're having is a stress test to the
Yes.
question of is there such thing as bad publicity? Because we gave him endless attention the last time because he was running for president and he was goofy
Yes.
and he said horrible things and it was salacious. Well, doesn't get any better than that. Um, but now we are micro focused on him
We are.
because he's been arrested and he's being tried in a criminal trial. At what? And of course, and I know they're all trying to spin that, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to his base. And it's no, I think it does matter because right now most people aren't super news junkies, all right? But now they're focused in because this is salacious. And to the people who drive me crazy, who go,
Right.
this isn't such a big case. This isn't important. They got Capone on income tax. They didn't get him on all the other things. And you didn't go, well, income tax. Don't put him in jail for that. This guy's a horrible murderer. You got to arrest him for that. No. But more importantly, you're seeing this guy in the worst light imaginable. You're seeing all of the crazy stuff he does, and it's being amplified. So I mean, I know that, yes, they talk endlessly. I mean, what was it? There was something, again, this will be the past. You'll all be laughing at us. Oh, he was making trout-like movements with his mouth. And okay, but maybe this guy deserves. I mean, I think that maybe, just maybe, this might not benefit him. And the fact that we are two grown men sitting in a room going, the fact that a guy that used to be the president and is now on trial and has 4 more trials, well, it's really not that important. I sort of think it is. So, and as far as
It is. It is. You make a good point. You make a good point. You sort of gave me a slap across the cyber waves here. You're right. And we're seeing history. We don't know how this trial will work out. We don't know how it will impact his campaign for president. But we're seeing history. And given the fact that we're at this point in technology, the next generation or the young generation will be able to remember. And it won't be a case of, oh, it's just in the textbooks and we don't read textbooks. It's here on video. So you make a very valid point. It's too bad that we can't find a way of being creative. One of the shows, it may have been Jon Stewart or Colbert, I don't remember, they ran a montage of mainly the uh, journalists who work, and I'm losing my mind here, but all the reporters are using the same phrase. The walls are closing in on him. The walls are closing in on him. The walls are closing in on him.
The walls are Don't just stand there, try and brace it with something.
Can't they find a different way of expressing their thoughts?
yes, well, now that brings up a whole other thing that John Oliver loves to goof on, and it's like,
Yeah.
and now local reporters being stunned that it's spring. And then they'll have 50. Can you believe that it's spring? I can't believe it's spring. Oh my God! And or Halloween is here. Halloween is here. And this, and and once somebody picks up a headline or a shtick or a name, everybody grabs it. They closed down the 405 in L.A. a few years back, and all of the news things was, it's gonna be Carmageddon. Well, after all, it's like, guys, could you be? And yet, that's all you heard. Yes, everybody repeats themselves. If you're reporting the news, if you're all different people, in theory, you should all be saying the same thing. It's when you have somebody over here that's watched the same event and is saying something completely different. That's when it gets weird. Watch the if you watch I watch all the late night. I watch the monologues to the late night shows. I just go through all of them, and
Yes.
if you and this is a valid thing. If you want to get the news, if the news depresses you, watch it just through the late night comedians. They're going to give you the same
Right.
facts. They're not going to lie about
Oh,
anything. They're just
exactly.
going to
Yeah.
make jokes about it. They're going to make jokes about it, and they all make the same joke. And you can tell that
Yeah.
that they didn't steal it. Each group of writers wrote the same joke because
Yeah.
it's the obvious joke of the day. I remember there was one day I thought of it, and then I heard it on TV. this whole Trump thing that's going on is a a playmate, a porn star, and a guy named Pecker walk into a courtroom. And the judge says, "What is this, some kind of joke?" And here's the problem with 24-hour news. For the next 2 minutes, talk. And then the next 5 minutes, talk and don't stop talking. All right? Not only talk, say things that might be perceived by a majority of the people watching as coherent.
It really is contradictory. We're criticizing, or I'm criticizing, uh, people, and these are folks who are doing the job that I used to do for many a year. Yes, they are talking a lot, but they're getting viewing, which means they're getting more ratings. I do wish they could find a different way of saying it, but it is what it is. And the other thing is, I'm not a fan of Fox News. Now, I don't stand alone in saying that. I know that. And I always complain as we sit and watch the late night talk shows, and they give us clips from the news events that happened earlier in the day, and you get a bucket load of Fox News, and I say, why am I watching Fox News? I didn't want to, but I'm getting it now. Why did they give that to us? Because it's part of the story, I guess. Because Fox News takes that
Yeah.
stance that sets it apart from the other news organizations.
Well,
So, what are we complaining about?
you're right. The other problem is that in this case, he's getting publicity both on the positive side and on the negative side. I mean, Fox and those they're trying to play this. They're trying to spin this as that,
Yeah,
this is so horrible. And the beauty of it is that they give the material for the next night's late night shows. I was just at a
absolutely.
Seder, and we somehow the discussion turned. They couldn't understand Fox News, and I was trying to tell them that I said, here's the weird thing, and I've noticed this now. Everybody that I've ever talked to, that, and this is relatives, friends, people at work, the say they watch Fox News, and I'd ask them deliberately, that's all they watch. And
Right.
by that's all they watch, no, but that's all they watch. They don't watch anything else. They don't watch primetime shows, like they don't watch
Right.
CSII or Survivor or Law and Order. They don't watch sports. They watch Fox News. And
Yes.
so, they're in a bubble. We've all gotten to this weird place where, we only want to see what we want to see and hear what we want to hear. But going back to Fox and the rest of us, when all the news people, all the cable networks and everybody are reporting, they're all reporting on the same story. Fox
Yeah.
News is like the fifth dentist. All right. Remember those ads for toothpaste,
Yes.
which said
Yes.
4 out of 5 dentists recommend Ipana or what it was. And now, when I was a kid, my question was always, what does that fifth dentist have to say? What is his opinion? They're all going, this is great. And what is he going, no, it's poison, or no, brush your teeth with chocolate. It doesn't matter. Eat all the sugar you want. So that's what Fox News is. They're the fifth dentist. Because when
Yes.
we're all covering a story, we're all saying the same thing, and they'll be saying something completely, like, were you watching the same event? Uh,
Right.
but that's
It,
the
it's
world
it.
that
You
we.
you make good sense, and that's a good example to bring up. And I can see, if you're a Fox News fan or you work for Fox News, you can say we are the only ones giving you the truth. The rest of it is a conspiracy, and they can use the same examples we're talking about. They can say you can see it's a conspiracy because they're all saying the same thing. Why aren't they giving it a different angle? No, it's almost like verbatim. It's a conspiracy. You can trust us because we're Fox and we're giving you the truth as we see it. So I can understand how they maintain their viewership. As someone who's worked in the business, I can clearly understand that. And as I'm sitting here and saying this to you, I'm making points to, again, this time it'll be me slapping myself. I brought up the subject, but I can understand it from a TV news point. Absolutely.
Also, I I wrote about this years ago because I thought it was funny then. Um, the writers on the all the late night talk shows, and John Oliver, and you know this is for them sort of a glorious time because they
Oh yeah.
don't have to really work a lot. They come in every day
Right.
and they look at the news and they transcribe the jokes, which for them is great. I mean, they come in, they watch 10 minutes of Fox, and then they go to lunch. Well, when Jon Stewart quit the first time, I remember his speech was pretty impressive. And he said, I just can't go through this again. And he basically asked people to not vote for Trump because his writers needed to go back to work again. When all this goes away, all these poor writers, they're like all their comedic chops, their muscles, they've been slack because we've had now 8 years of, and now all of
Yeah.
a sudden, wait a minute, we have to work for a living. We have to actually think up new jokes. Well, and he said, please make us go back to work. Make us do that. So yeah, it's funny.
I was just going to say that I find that familiar, and I'm digging my virtual grave here. But I recall when we were covering other trials, but OJ comes to mind. We knew that we wouldn't have to work as hard during the day because we knew come the evening, I don't know, a third, a half of the show would be OJ. So that meant we only had to do one or two stories instead of two or three or four or five stories because OJ was going to take care of most of the newscast.
You have no idea. For 1 year, we were so immersed in the OJ trial that that up to the minute, our little crew, our little room was the shadow network for the OJ trial during the day.
Right.
We were airing it, right? So if affiliates wanted to come and check in on the trial, that's how OJ made me a lot of money. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of money. The overtime covering that trial because
Yep.
that's what started it all. And you were right. Every day we had to write a 8-minute news block. Okay, that was live news. The
Right.
rest of the stuff was pre-produced. All right. So we knew that every day we would get a report in from Harvey Levin. We would get another report in from somebody else because there was a media farm there for a year for
Right.
the whole trial. So basically, each day the producer had to, in fact, write about maybe 3, maybe 4 minutes of news because the rest of it was OJ and OJ related. And I remember
Yes.
near the near the end of the trial, as that was almost over, we were waiting for the verdict. A producer behind me said, he said, "Wow, what are we going to do for news when the OJ trial is over?" And I just
Absolutely.
stopped and I went, "What?" Anyway, I said, "You mean that I know how to tell you this, but there's other things in the news, and now you're going to have to write twice as much." Oh, I mean, and he was serious. He
Yes.
wasn't even joking. That that filled. Oh, that was a media blessing. Did you realize how much time that fills? That's the hard. Here's the problem with 24-hour news networks. You gotta talk for 24 hours. You gotta fill
Right.
24 hours. It's not as easy as it looks. And they discovered with the OJ trial that the best way is have an event that doesn't end. A news story. Most news stories are over the next day, but a story that can go on
Right.
for months. It becomes an adventure. And OJ was the template for it all. And
Oh,
right now,
absolutely.
Trump is fitting into that mold, and that's just the way it is, good, bad,
It's
or
the way it is,
indifferent.
and here's where the old our pummeling of a pillowcase comes in. We're sitting here and we're talking about the overdose of the Trump trial. Back during the OJ trial, I was working the that early morning shift for the local stations, And one of the things you worry about when you go to bed that night, the previous night, you wonder, am I going to be covering another triple murder or highway accidents or whatever? And you get a over fits about what am I going to have to do? Well, 9 times out of 10 during the course of the OJ trial, they would say to me, just make sure you come in dressed to be in front of the camera, letting me know that I would not be outside in bad weather or whatever. And they would say, just gear up to sit here and do an intro into the coverage we're getting from the reporter we sent out to Los Angeles or wherever it was. So that took a big load off the shoulders of reporters and writers, etc. So it should give you a sense of what will happen when the trial is over. Because right now we have, of course, the Middle East story, and it's getting more and more interesting here in the States because of the college protest, and people are saying that, oh, the tide is turning. The pro-Palestinian groups are getting more and more time, and it's becoming more and more interesting. So people are wondering, well, what do we do next? But the reason I mention this because this is interesting and it has obviously uh, legs of history of its own. But the point being, this Middle East story, which should be interesting, playing second fiddle to the Trump business. So, where do you draw the line? Who says
Yes,
what's more important? Trump draws more ratings,
we've
and people have, the people who are really intrigued by what's happening in the Middle East, they're saying, what's going on?
Yep, because that's the circus world that we live in today.
Oh, you just said
It's
that. Yes.
and if you think about it, are we obsessing any more on Trump than we are on OJ? Everybody forgets. OJ was wall to
Yeah.
wall. Like I said, I literally was a shadow net for. I was absorbed, and so was the whole country. Um, my God, the low speed chase was viewed around the world. It At the NBA game, there was an NBA playoff game. Okay, they put the low speed chase up on the jumbotron, and the
Oh,
people
good.
were watching the low speed chase, not the basketball game that they came to see.
Oh,
NBC
that's amazing.
aired, and I hope I can find it if I can, the low speed chase with the NBA game, which was live on their network in a box. Okay, so to answer your question,
That's
what what is more important, the NBA championship game that you are broadcasting, or this
right.
salacious piece of news?
It makes you wonder if the people who are in, and we keep blaming them, but the suits, the executives who do know about the OJ trial and should see the similarity, but they're saying the same thing that you and I are saying. It's drawing people. It's getting its ratings. We'll go with what gives us ratings. That happens
Yep.
over and over again.
So, I guess the answer to this is that the coverage we're giving to Trump is really no different than the coverage we gave to OJ. Of course, there wasn't a possibility that OJ could become the president of the United States. So on that note, we're out of time. Anyway, on to the inevitable um, slugs, plugs, and mugs.
Whatever.
Serendipity seeking
Thugs.
intelligent life on Earth. Thugs. Voicescapes Audio Theater. Best in audio comedy and drama half-hour radio show. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And, of course, my sister podcast, Get Off My Lawn. So anyway, see ya.